bringing to you the most relevant content across all platforms.
Business, legal, politics, health, lifestyle, and entertainment.
Your source for all the news and updates in the greater Houston community, from Texas and all over the world.
Get informed and empowered with Lawin Media Network.
The following program is produced by Lawin Media Network. The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the individuals appearing on the show and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Lawin Media Network, its affiliates, sponsors, or partners. The information provided in this episode is for general informational purposes only and may not reflect the current law in your state or country. No information contained in this episode should be construed as legal advice. You are advised to seek legal counsel concerning your legal question or concern from a lawyer licensed in your state, country, or appropriate licensing jurisdiction.
All right, we are live. Kumusta, Attorney Aileen?
Beauty.
Of course.
All right, Christian. Well, good evening, everybody here in Houston, here in Texas, here in the United States, and good morning in the Philippines.
Yes, good morning. Magandang umaga.
My name is Aileen Ligutizan. I'm an attorney licensed here in the state of Texas, and I'm the managing partner of Ligutizan Law Firm based here in Houston. And Christian here.
I'm just me. I'm Christian. I'm here, and I'm ready to learn. And maybe like after all these legal lessons, I'll be able to start my fake law firm and have my fake legal practice, like in the TV shows and everything.
Why fake? You can actually go to law school. You know are
what?
qualified.
Pag nagbibiro ka ng ganyan, baka totohanin ko yan.
Kailan you have to review for LSAT.
Yeah, it's like 10 years of my life. And
but it's not impossible. Here in the United States, this is a lot of opportunities.
That's
so
true.
there is no age limit. There is no age requirement or whatever, as long as you can read.
Yeah,
and you have, of course, the background that you need, like the undergraduate.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have to pass the entrance exam, the LSAT, if you want to go to law school, right?
Right. By the way, if you're watching live, thank you. If you're watching from YouTube, from Facebook, from stream.lawin.live, thank you. And if you want to listen to this again after this, it's still recorded in there, and it's also in different podcast platforms, in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, what else? iHeartRadio, Podchaser, Deezer, Good Pods, Podcast Index, Stitcher, Podcast Addict. I don't know if that's a good name. I'm still debating if that's a good name or a bad
Just
name.
a name.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you for listening. And if you have questions, feel free to put it on the chat.
Yes, and you can also greet your friends, relatives, BFF, frenemies, wherever they're located, because we are online. We are live on Facebook page and YouTube channel of Lawin Media Network. So thank you, Lawin, for producing this show. This is Legal Treats. And this Legal Treats is actually my treat for you. And of course, sama na natin si Christian.
Thank you.
And the purpose, of course, to educate and provide support to all of you who are listening and watching the show. And this is, of course, part of my advocacy to, ensure that justice is actually for all, that you have access to legal education, free legal education. I know there's the Google University, but beware of the information you're getting from Google, because Google did not graduate from law school.
Yeah.
Is not a licensed attorney. So you always have to, of course, always ask or consult with your attorney, with an attorney who is licensed to practice law in your jurisdiction. Because remember, the practice of law is governed by here in the United States state law. So if I am licensed in Texas, then I can practice law here in Texas. But if I'm not licensed in California, I cannot practice in California unless I take the bar exam, get licensed there. So, but we can, if you wanted to, we can have multiple licenses here, and also in outside the country. If you want to practice in, let's say for example in the Philippines, you have to take the law school there, graduate, and then take the bar exam, pass the bar exam, take your oath before you can actually practice law in the Philippines. Same, I believe, in most of the countries.
Speaking of going to school, can you take the bar exam even if you didn't go to law school? Like if you just really studied everything?
I don't think so, because you have to qualify first, right? And one of the qualifications you are, of course, how can you take the bar if you're not educated in that jurisdiction? And also going back to legal treats, we try to provide this free information, legal information, because you are not excused for not knowing the law in your jurisdiction. Ano nga ba yun, Christian? What is that? Principle, legal principle.
I'm reading
read it.
legal principle of ignorantia juris non excusat.
Galing it
parang,
means
parang minura. Ano sabi mo sa akin?
It means ignorance of the law excuses not, or I'm Christian.
Ignorance of the law is no excuse.
The other one.
Oh,
Ignorantia.
Ignorantia legis neminem excusat.
Means ignorance of the law excuses no one. So you are not excused for not knowing your law or the law in your jurisdiction. Sabi nga ni Thomas Jefferson, ignorance of the law is no excuse in any country. Means in any jurisdiction. All right. So Christian, what are we going to talk about? Oh, by the way, just a recap. Last episode, that was episode 6. We talk about, we shifted from estate planning topics to divorce.
Yes, divorce.
Yes, so we started talking about divorce in our previous episode. We kind of talk about like an overview of it. If you want to watch that, go to Lawin Media Network, Facebook, and YouTube. You can watch all the episodes there and all the shows of Lawin Media Network. Today, in this episode, what we're going to talk about?
Cruelty. Cruelty as grounds for divorce. And what else?
Ang cruel mo naman, Christian.
Oh, my. Ganun kasi naranasan ko, pinapasa ko lang. Legal processes and impact of cases like this and divorce outcomes, like in property and child custody, and case study. So get ready for that. It's gonna be like a true crime.
We're gonna start following an actual case. So that's what Christian meant by case study. But we're not really doing some case study. It's just we're gonna
felt
talk
like a law student.
We're gonna talk about a very interesting case. Although it didn't happen here in California, I mean in Texas, it happened somewhere in California. It involves Filipino American couples. So you may have probably heard of that case. So watch out for that. But meantime, let's talk about the different grounds of divorce.
Yeah. How many are they? I feel like this is just one of them. I feel like there's so many reasons people file for divorce, and is it like a whole extensive list, or is mostly like just a few?
Well, you want to know if you're gonna fall?
I want to know what
yet.
I can't
Christian
do.
is not married yet, but even if you're not under common law marriage, right? Because here in Texas, even if you are not married, but you are living with somebody as like you're living as husband and wife, you may be considered married under common law marriage, and it will be governed by the same community property law here in the state of Texas. So that's why even if you're not married, but you can be married under common law. That's
I do live with someone.
Oh,
No,
I don't.
I mean, she doesn't know. I'm just in the walls, and I'm just
but you're not
living in the walls.
And that's not going to qualify, because you have to be declaring yourself in the public as husband and wife to be considered as common law married. But anyway, we're talking about divorce, right? And you asked about grounds. What are the grounds for filing a divorce here in the state of Texas, right? There are actually 7 grounds. I use mnemonics. When when you're memorizing something, when you're a student, you create mnemonics to easily remember them. So my mnemonics here is ICALM.
Mm.
ICALM. Parang kalma lang.
Mm.
Kalma. Kalma. Have you heard of that kalma? So, yeah, ICALM. So, I is the first one is I in supportability.
Mhm.
So it simply means that the marriage is no longer insupportable. You know, it's hindi
Like
na kayo,
financially
well,
or
hindi na kayo pwedeng magsama. Hindi na kayo
oh,
in sa isa't isa, you know.
wow.
And there's no hope of reconciliation and supportability. Yeah. And this is the most common ground. Actually, this is is alleged on the petition if you're filing for a divorce that is a no fault divorce. Remember when I talk about the two types of divorce
Mhm.
here, either fault divorce or no fault divorce. No fault is walang may kasalanan.
Mm.
You just it's not working anymore. I mean, hindi na healthy, hindi na kayo nag-grow, and you don't feel like you're supposed to be
Wow.
together. So that means no fault. Walang kasalanan. Hindi na lang siya hindi na lang kayo pwedeng magsama.
Mm.
Insupportability.
That's
So that's
sad.
the I in I come.
Mm.
And then the C is yung sinabi mo,
Cruelty.
cruelty, cruella. Deville. Cruelty. And that will be our topic today. So we'll expound more on that ground of cruelty. And A is abandonment.
Oh.
Oo, so pag iniwan mo yung pamilya mo, there are some requirements in order for you to, use that ground for divorce. But yeah, it's abandonment. And we'll talk all about these grounds later on. Isa-isa nating pag-usapan yan. Next is L. Legal separation. Yung
Oh.
hindi, naghiwalay na kayo, na you decided to live separately.
Which is different.
From abandonment. Kasi ng abandonment, like I said, there are
Only one
specific
person.
requirements. Abandonment, iniwanan mo na sila.
Mm.
Pero yung legal separation, nagkasundo kayo na maghiwalay na. And there are also some, requirements na kailangan yung patunayan in order for you to use that ground for your for divorce here in Texas. So that's legal separation. And the last one, Christian, sana naman di ka mag-fall dito.
Ano ba to? M.
M. Mental.
Oh, I mean, that's probably
hospital. You are confined in a mental hospital.
Wow.
Pero hindi requirements yun. Hindi naman lahat ng nako-confine ka just because na-confine ka sa mental hospital, ground na yun for divorce. Hindi naman. There are requirements set by law, and we're gonna talk about that later on sa ating mga succeeding episode.
And I think we missed one.
What did we miss?
Adultery? I'm just looking
at
it.
Bakit natin yung A? Kasi dalawa, abandonment,
yeah.
I come. So we talk about A, abandonment, and the other A is adultery.
Yeah.
So, kailan pa ba natin expound ng adultery?
I guess, sa episode na yun, yung legal meaning.
Yun. Because here, adultery is not a crime here in the state of Texas.
Oh, wow. Kaya pala ang dami-dami meaning.
Dami-dami ditong mga ganyan-ganyan. Katabi-tabi, ganyan.
Itag nyo sa comments yung mga kilala nyo.
Hindi ko, wag naman. Wag sa lawi na. And then wag din sa social media ninyo, because whatever it is that you post there becomes public information.
Just
so be
send
careful
it to
with
me.
whatever you're sending. Yeah. So adultery, not a crime, but it is a ground for divorce here in the state of Texas. Okay, so ano na nga ba yung 7 grounds?
Insupportability.
Huwag ka tumingin ng mopya ka eh.
Cruelty. Adultery.
Mhm.
Abandonment. Legal separation.
Or living apart.
Living apart. Or if you're confined in a mental institute. Wow.
Confinement in
mental hospital.
Okay, so we're gonna focus on cruelty. By the way, if you have any questions related sa ating topic for tonight, feel free to post that comment. Make sure you post that one while we are on the live stream, because we will try to read them throughout the show and maybe answer those questions if we can.
We have a comment though.
Already?
From Margarita. Hi, Tita. Good job. Yes, thank you.
Hi, Margarita. Margarita Trong is an active board of director ng Philippine American Chamber of Commerce, Texas, Greater Houston region.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for watching, Margarita. Okay, so
Cruelty.
Cruelty. Ano ba tong cruelty
Yeah,
question?
I feel like always it's like the legal definitions are interesting because people could just say they're cruel, but for some people maybe they're not. Like, what constitutes cruelty?
Marami. Actually, the law did not really define what is
Oh.
cruelty. So it's up to us to prove that whatever it is that your spouse did to you may fall under the definition of cruelty, which, like I said, it wasn't really clearly defined under the law. So because of that, we can consider cruelty yung mga physical violence.
Mm.
Meron tayong slide yan. Pakita mo nga yan dyan sa
Oh.
screen natin. Ayan. So, physical assault.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gusto mo inak? Wag sa akin. Yeah, I know, right? Physical assault, emotional abuse, harassment, ano pa ba? Yung stalking could be considered as cruelty. Anything that you can prove that, impacted your mental health. I mean, your physical and emotional and mental health ng tao.
Wow.
And because of that, hindi na it becomes insupportable na kayong dalawa na. Yung pagsama nyo hindi na healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And does this also fall with the actual criminal charges?
Yes, of course. Because of physical violence, that could result to criminal cases actually being filed.
What goes first? Should you file something first? Or I guess
there is really no requirement. Hindi ka naman naghihintay na may mangyari.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, of course, if something happened to you that is not the norm, and you feel like you have been violated by your spouse, and if there is an actual or immediate threat of life, syempre mag 911 ka, tawag ka agad ng you'll never know what's gonna happen if the other if your partner, your spouse is not in the right frame of mind or in rage or yung uncontrollable anger, or meron siyang anger issue, or meron siyang history of physical violence or domestic violence. So kaya nga, I don't know if it's right to say that before you get married, or before you say I do, or at least sign the marriage contract, i-check nyo yung spouse ninyo, especially if you are not you're not that you haven't been together for a long time, hindi mo masyadong kakilala yung fiancé mo. It will not hurt. I don't think nagda-doubt ka sa relationship if you do a little background investigation. Ganun naman talaga, it has to be part of that. Check, kasi you'll never know.
Or even sometimes like a simple Google search would let you know a lot of stuff about a person.
Or,
not that I don't Google my name, definitely don't do that.
Or Facebook, ang dami-dami ng mga evidence sa social media. That's why I said earlier, be careful with what you're posting there, because it tells a lot about you. Those are, ano bang tawag nila, resibo.
Yeah, and I guess when this sometimes people just want to be separated, but they don't want to see the other person in jail, right?
Oh, that's true, because I remember in one of my divorce cases that I handled, I think this was last year. The spouse actually, ang nangyari doon, nagkaroon sila ng pagtatalo. Of course, I can't disclose any, I cannot identify which case, right? Pero ang nangyari doon, nagkaroon sila ng pagtatalo at nagkasakitan sila. And then the spouse called 911. And I asked, why did you call 911 on your spouse? Well, because there was a knife, there was a weapon used, and she was scared at that time, so she called 911. And so the husband was arrested, and there's already there was a criminal case filed against the spouse. Sabihin ko lang spouse. But then the other spouse that was attacked refused to serve as a witness. So dahil hindi siya magwi-witness, madi-dismiss yung kaso. So actually, it ended up dismissing the case. And then they nagsama sila ulit. And then after, how many years, yun na yung lumapit siya sa akin because she was already contemplating divorce. I guess, nag-escalate yung violence throughout the years.
We do. It is almost time for a break, but we do have a comment, and maybe we could discuss this after. Let me read it over here. A long comment, yeah.
Yeah.
Human rights are the basic rights and freedoms to which all humans are considered entitled, regardless of nationality, sex, national or ethnic origin, race, religion, language, or any other status. These rights include the right to life and liberty, freedom from slavery and torture, freedom of opinion and expression, the right to work and education, and many more. Everyone is entitled to these rights without discrimination. Why is it that the pitch in the Philippines, as the only country remaining without divorce, claiming that their human rights are being violated because there is no divorce in the Philippines? Guess who this comment is from?
So I have to guess na nandiyan ang pangalan niya.
Thank you, Attorney Orly.
O yung
Yeah.
mga taga-Pilipinas dyan, you can, reply to this comment if you want. Bakit nga ba sa Philippines ay wala pang divorce? And aside from Vatican, Pilipinas na lang ang wala pang divorce. And right now, they're actually started talking about it again kasi nga namatay na yung bill last year. Ngayon, binubuhay na naman nila yung usapan ng divorce. Bakit nga ba? Can this be, if they don't have the divorce law in the Philippines, will that be considered as violation of human rights? Now, first and foremost, what is human rights? Pupunta ka ngayon doon sa Constitution ng Philippines, Isa ba sa mga constitutional rights ng isang Filipino citizen ang divorce? Now, right now, syempre hindi, wala pa doon, 'di ba? Ano ba yung mga examples ng mga constitutional right mo? Right to get married, 'di ba? So, wala makakapigil sa'yo pang gusto mong magpakasal. Unless
yung magulang ko
and
talaga.
unless may legal impediment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is something that is actually a good topic to talk about. So I challenged you, the audience, to dig deeper into this one. Will it be a violation of human rights? Well, definitely hindi pa violation of constitutional right kasi wala pa naman sa Constitution ng Philippines yan. But will it be considered as violation of human rights? So maybe we can talk more about that as we go along with our topic, as we talk about it. This is not going to be the last episode for probably topic of cruelty because we are going to talk about meron tayong abangan na kaso na maybe related to this and topic of divorce.
Wow. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
So, but before we go on a break, you have a question. It's very important we talk about it before we go on a break. How does one prove cruelty in a Texas divorce court?
Paano nga ba?
Unang-una na naman cruelty, physical abuse,
Verbal,
emotional, harassment, threats, stalking, all that. How do you prove this?
Yeah, how do you prove that your partner is stalking you when you're partners and like you're always together and you live in the same house?
So, ang sabi ko in sa isang consultation sa akin, alleging this, alleging the ground of cruelty. Sabi ko, so paano mo mapapatunayan na ina-abuse ka ng husband mo kasi wife yung nag-consult. Sabi niya, attorney, andito sa lahat ng mga conversation namin sa phone. I took videos of
Receipts.
I took videos of the time we were arguing and minumura niya ako. Na one time hinagis niya yung malaking stapler sa akin.
Wow.
So nakuha ko yung sa video attorney. Sabi ko, ha, talaga? Paano mo na video mga yun? Pero I'm just what I'm trying to say here is that documentation. You can prove these abuses through documentations, whether it's a video, it's a paper, or you have witnesses and doctors report or police report. So kan sinabi ko, if you were attacked again by your spouse and life threatening yung dating, call 911 kasi then there will be police record. But sa culture kasi natin, we usually don't do that unless talagang malala. So most of the time, walang evidence. Unless, like I said, malala. Yung talagang sinasaksak ka na o binaril
Oh,
ka or sinasakal ka or may mga ibang witnesses sila yung tumawag ng 911. Pero most of the time, wala. Tsaka syempre kung sinasakal ka pa, makukuha mo pa ba yung cellphone mo to video,
True,
you know?
true.
Unless meron kang
Security
security cam
cameras.
sa bahay mo. And most of the time, yun ang pinapresent because that's what we have na readily available evidence. So documentations, doctor's report, police report, witnesses, all that. Yun how you can prove cruelty.
Wow. So
Okay.
different ways.
All right. So before we continue our discussion,
We're gonna go on break. All right, stick around. In a world filled with fleeting moments, there's beauty waiting to be captured. My name is Christian, and I specialize in immortalizing your most precious memories, from elegant weddings to vibrant events and timeless portraits. I'm here to make every moment unforgettable. Let me tell your story through the lens. Contact me today and let's create magic together. All right, we're back.
we're back.
So we talked about cruelty and how to prove cruelty. I guess what else do I have?
Well-
Impact on divorce proceedings.
Well, before that,
Mm.
we talk about, what do you need to prove cruelty, right? What do you need to prove the abuses? How can you prove emotional abuse, mental, physical abuse, How can you prove that? Pag-usapan natin. Now, the reason why you have to have all these documentations, because when you file for divorce, let's say ikaw yung spouse ang nag-file ng divorce, and on the ground of cruelty, the burden of proof is on you. Alam mo ba yung burden of proof? Yung ikaw ang
It's my
may responsibility to prove the abuses. So yung spouse mo, pwedeng siya ng alibi or but the burden of proof is dun sa spouse na nag-file ng petition, ng tawag dyan ay petitioner. So ngayon, pwede bang mag-shift yun? Yung let's say for example, yung spouse mo, yung respondent, sabi niya, no, I did not do that. No, I did not strangle you on Wednesday, 5:00 p.m. because I was with my kumpare.
Yeah.
Nagiinuman kami. So that's my alibi siya. So he has to prove that alibi. So now, kasi in-allege yun, siya
That
naman
was
ang
my
magpo-prove
evil
mo.
twin. And I guess are there people who I guess not to victim blame, but also are there people who try to make it try to falsify?
Oh, of course. I mean, dapat hindi. Because you're gonna be testifying in court under oath. So pag napatunayan that you lied or you falsified the documents or it's a fraud, then ikaw naman ang pwede nilang i-demanda, makasuhan for
And what's the lawyer's role? Does the lawyer usually know if someone was trying this, or maybe it did happen, but someone was trying to exaggerate what happened?
Well, of course, as a lawyer, if I am representing a client, I expect the client to tell me everything. That's my expectation because of the relationship, the attorney-client relationship. Also, I'm not going to be able to advocate fully for my client if I do not know everything. So that's the expectations, of course. But sometimes the client is not telling everything. Is lying or hiding something. Kasi syempre, discretion ng client yun. We cannot do anything about that kung ayaw niyang i-reveal. But, pag nalaman namin, let's say first nalaman ko, and my client is not telling the truth, I have options, what to do. I can, it depends on what information I've discovered and how I discovered it. So, ganun yun. Now, why? Bakit importante na mapatunayan natin yung cruelty sa divorce?
And also, are there differences? If you file for divorce for cruelty rather than another reason, what's the difference, I guess?
Well, of course, ang difference nun is yung proof of evidence, you will have to submit in court. Siyempre, kung ang ground mo is abandonment, you're not gonna submit evidence of abuses, diba? You have to prove the elements of abandonment. So sa cruelty, ganun din. You have to prove the elements of cruelty. May iba-iba. Pero pwede bang dalawa, tatlo yung grounds? Pwede if they exist. Why not? Diba? Now, it's very important for you to, if you file a petition for divorce on the ground of cruelty, syempre kailangan mapatunayan mo that cruelty exists so that the court will grant the divorce. Because remember, this is a full divorce. You are telling the court that this marriage did not work, or you're asking the court to terminate this marriage because the other spouse is at fault. And what is the fault of the other spouse? Cruelty, abuses, mental, emotional, physical, harassment, and all that. So, ngayon, what is the impact?
Yeah.
Pag napatunayan mo na yung cruelty. Again, depende din sa cruelty, di ba? May level din yan. Merong extreme, may light, ganyan. Why is it important for you to prove the cruelty, yung totoo, if it's yung cruelty is talagang matindi.
Extreme.
You know? Like for example, you were strangled to almost to death, pero nabuhay ka, di ba? Otherwise, murder na yon. Hindi ka na magpapal ng divorce noon, no?
Mo na.
Kasi murder na yon. So, ibig sabihin, hindi ka namatay, pero strangle ka na talagang to the point na talagang the person is determined to strangle. Ngayon, kapag napatunayan na talagang siyang at fault, may effect yon. Aside from the fact that the court will grant the divorce on the ground of cruelty, may impact yon sa division of your property. Remember, as a married couple, you know, if you are here in Texas, you are governed by community property law here in Texas, which means that whatever you purchase, acquired during the marriage, is considered community property. Parang sa Philippines, conjugal. Ganon. So, you have an undivided interest doon sa property na yon. Let's say, for example, bumili kayo ng bahay during the marriage. So, that bahay is considered community property. Ngayon, during divorce, siyempre, di ba, maghahati kayo ng properties. That doesn't mean kalahati sa'yo, kalahati sa kanya. Because here, it's not 50-50 split. It depends on who's at fault, and it depends on the gravity of the fault. You know? Pag napatunayan, let's say for example, napatunayan mo sa court na talagang the other one was at fault and, you know, almost killed you, all that, and ang dami-dami niyang mga abuses na ginawa sa'yo, the court may decide to award the entire house to you because you're the victim and the other one was at fault. So, ganun yon. Or, pwedeng i-award sa'yo lahat. So, may epekto yon sa division of your property, itong mga abuses na to. Now, aside from the division of property, the other issue na kailangan yung i-resolve sa divorce case ay the children, custody of the children. Tawag dito conservatorship. That is, of course, if the children or if the child of the marriage is still a minor. Kasi pagka adult na yan, hindi naman na yan kailangan pang pag-usapan sa divorce case. When we say minor, below 18 years old. Pag nag-18 na yan, adult na yan, can leave, hindi na kailangan ng parental authority, ganyan. So, hindi na kasama sa divorce. Yan ang pag-usapan.
We do have a question. Hello. Watching from Spring. Hello. Question for...
Who's that?
Brian.
Brian Wong?
Question for a friend. Is choking of spouse considered cruel? What is the effect of choking in USCIS naturalization? Ooh.
Oh, so, you know, hindi natin maiwasan talaga ang pag-usapan ang divorce and immigration, especially if it involves immigrants. You know, there's always a crossover between divorce and immigration. So that's why if you are an immigrant and you have a pending immigration application for immigration benefits, and you are, you know, involved in a case like this, a divorce with involving physical violence or cruelty, it's best to consult an attorney who practices both
I thought you were gonna say
and family law.
To consult an attorney who practices choking.
Kasi may impact kasi yung family, yung divorce na yon doon sa immigration, sa immigration law. Now, question ni Brian Wong, yung strangulation.
Mhm.
Meron. So, usually, di ba kapag ka may physical violence, nagkakasakitan kayo, hindi mo na nalalaman kung anong ginagawa mo sa, sa spouse mo, pwedeng sinasampal mo,
Mhm.
sinusuntok mo, sinasakal mo, ganyan. Ngayon, kapag ka nag-file ng, let's say, both of you are immigrants. Let's say yung spouse na sinakal mo, ay siya yung US citizen at ikaw yung
Mhm.
let's say
Immigrant.
green card holder ka pa lang. Tapos magna-naturalize ka later on
Mhm.
based on sa marriage, titignan nila, meron palang naka-file sa yung case. Involved ka pala sa domestic abuse.
Mhm.
They look into the details, what kind of abuse happened there, because strangulation in immigration is a very grave crime, and you may not be qualified to naturalize if kung mapatunayan na there's a domestic violence case filed against you and it involves strangulation. Yung sinampal, pwede, may mga factors kasi yung how did you do it? What exactly happened? I believe yung strangulation kasi is there's already a premeditated intent to kill the person. If you strangulate the person, you really wanted to kill that person because
That's how you breathe.
yeah.
If I
Pero
get
kung
slapped, I
nasampal
can
mo
still,
lang, sampal lang yun. Hindi, that's why there's a big effect sa immigration benefit application mo. So that's why it's important if you're involved in domestic violence and there's a divorce case going on and there's also a criminal case filed against you because of that, domestic violence or physical abuse happened. Make sure that you consult an attorney who represents, who practices both immigration and family law.
What if you're on the receiving end? What if you're the green card holder and you're the one who was the victim of it?
Well, syempre, hindi naman ikaw ang attacker. So, that will not affect your,
But like most probably, you're gonna be separated and you're still here in the US.
But that could fall under VAWA, also violence against women, violations of that act of the VAWA, Violations Against Women Act, which means that you may be eligible kung hindi ka pa green card holder or US citizen. You may be eligible for those benefits under VAWA kung mapatunayan that you're a victim of a crime, and domestic violence is a crime.
So violence against women. Paano pag lalaki naman yung yung ginulpe?
Pero rin ito.
Okay.
Pwede ka rin maging victim, Christian. That's actually a good question.
My expert advice is just try not to choke anyone, right?
Wag. But wag naman. Do not
Unless you're
encourage
into it,
violence.
unless that's your thing and you have safe words and stuff like that.
Okay, so Christian, meron ba tayong tanong dyan, or you have a question for me?
Oh, we're ready to move on.
So children, napag-usapan natin kanina na it also could that if there's cruelty or emotional or abuse or physical assault involved, domestic abuse involved, how will that affect the children? Aside from, of course, if they're witnessing the abuses, syempre merong effect yan emotionally, mentally dun sa bata. But in terms of divorce, it may be a factor that the court will consider in terms of deciding who's gonna be the conservator parent, yung custody, who's gonna have the custody. Kasi sa the divorce cases na may involve the minor children, we'll have to also decide who's gonna be the conservator, kung sino ang may custody sa mga bata. And there are several types of custody. Meron tayong sole custody. Meron tayong joint. Tawag dito, sole conservatorship, joint conservatorship. Yan. Now, ang default is joint conservator. Ibig sabihin, pareho kayo ng rights towards your children in terms of decision making, ganyan, and access to children, ganyan. Pero even if you're joint, meron isang parent na magiging primary. Siya yung magde-designate kung saan ang primary resident ng bata, and the other parent will have visitation rights. So the court will consider the violence, kung sino yung at fault, kung sino yung nagko-cause gi-inflict ng abuses, ng pain, ganyan, para to determine who's gonna be the conservator. And if ever joint conservatorship is for the best interest of the child or not. Pwede namang sole conservator, and then the other one will just have visitor access to the child, like visitation right lang. So and of course it's always complicated. The determination of conservatorship is always the most difficult part to decide in a divorce case, because of course your parents, iba yung relationship mo sa mga anak mo. You both wanted to be the conservator, you both wanted to have custody of your children. So yun talagang pinaka mahirap i-settle na issue sa divorce case. Ngayon, if the court will, if hindi kayo magkasundo, how you're gonna come up with an agreement as to conservatorship and visitation, access to the child, possession, tawag dyan, then the court will have to decide. And in order for the court to decide, the court will look into several factors, and this is, yung fault is also one of the factors, cruelty, abuses, na nangyayari sa bahay. Now, at some point, in one of the cases na hinandle ko, in that involved children and also violence, the court granted a supervised visitation. Supervised visitation, ibig sabihin, if you are the parent who is exercising visitation right doon sa anak mo, yung supervised, ibig sabihin yon, depende doon sa order ng court, no? Pwedeng sabihin na, pwede ka lang mag-visit sa anak mo for 2 hours dito sa facility na ito, and merong nakabantay. Could be yung anybody na in-appoint ng court. Yan. Pwedeng caseworker, ganyan, because there's violence involved in the marriage. So may mga ganon na nangyayari because there is a cruelty, physical violence, physical assault, and all that.
All right. Wow. I think it's almost time for another break. But before that, did we have any other things to consider when filing for a divorce with this instance? Do you want to answer that now or after the break?
Oh, well, I can answer that kasi quick lang naman yun.
Okay, sige,
Actually, if you are involved, if there's a cruelty, or there's a violence happening, there's domestic violence happening in the house, in the family, it is best to seek legal advice so that you will know how to go about it. Because you will need to provide evidence supporting proof of that violence, and your attorney will be able to help you on that matter, because this is your life. It involves your life, your children's life, your life now and your life in the future. If you will still have a life in the future, you'll never know. If there's a violence in the house, ang pinakamahirap niyan is my greatest fear if I have a client that is a divorce client with a physical or with a physical assault or violence, domestic violence involved in the case, is, biglang hindi ko na makausap yung client ko and the client is missing. There's a lot of missing cases here in Texas, in the United States. Pag nawala ng tao, how will you know what happened to this person? Kung buhay pa ba siya? Kung sino ang gumawa nito? Who's the responsible person?
Wow.
So that's actually, my greatest fear kapag sa mga divorce case. Kasi what's gonna happen if my client, hindi ko na makontak yung client ko? Sometimes may isip mo, I could have done something more to protect the client, diba?
Mhm.
And I've heard stories from other attorneys that went through this, and it's very hard for them to go through this because they feel that I could have done something to prevent this from happening, to prevent my client from missing, to prevent my client from being murdered by the spouse.
Wow,
That
wow.
being said, this is where we go to that
Ooh,
interesting case that we talk about, that we mentioned earlier in the episode. This is the case of
Maya Millet.
Maya Millet. Have you heard of the case of Maya Millet?
No, I feel like maybe if I hear the actual story, maybe, but the name, not really so much.
Well, she's not based here in Houston. She's
Mm.
based in California. But it's very interesting because this one involves Filipino American couples.
Mm.
And this case is still unsolved.
Wow, wow.
So this is
Okay.
a live case that we would like to follow, so that we know what's happening. And of course, remember, we learn from others. We learn from what's happening from around us. So hindi tayo pwedeng magbulag-bulagan, you know.
Mhm.
So even if you're not the one involved in this case, even if you're not involved in any kind of domestic violence, you're happily married, everything is just going perfectly right. Maybe some friends or family or relatives or your neighbor is going through this, and maybe you can do something for them.
I know the signs,
If
know
you
the red
know.
flags.
That's right. That's why we want to talk about this. So let's watch this video, Christian, so that
You
you will have
wanna?
an idea
Should we skip the break?
when we come back
All right,
after the
stick around.
break.
She Ascends, the sanctuary for your ears that is all about elevating, celebrating, and empowering the essence of womanhood.
Tune in as we celebrate how women leverage their power, turn challenges into growth, and craft the future boldly and gracefully, with MJ and Atala leading the way.
Join us as we lift each other up and create a world where every woman's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your headphones, and let's get empowered.
Tune in live Monday, March 4th, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
All right, we are back. I was just reading.
Oh,
this case.
we're talking about Maya's case. So can we show that video?
All right.
Maya Millet was a devoted mother, wife, and respected member of her community in Chula Vista, California. Born on May 1, 1981, Maya grew up in a loving family and eventually pursued a career that demonstrated her commitment to service and excellence. She worked as a defense contractor at Naval Base San Diego, where she was well regarded by her colleagues for her dedication and hard work. Maya was married and a mother to 3 children, whom she loved deeply. She was known for her vibrant personality, kindness, and the joy she brought to the lives of those around her. Tragically, Maya went missing in January 2021 under mysterious circumstances, leading to widespread concern and a high-profile search. As of the latest updates, Maya Millet's case took a significant turn when her husband, Larry Millet, was arrested in October 2021 and charged with her murder. Despite extensive searches, Maya's body has not been found. Investigations revealed that there were marital issues between Maya and Larry, and Maya had scheduled an appointment with a divorce attorney on the day she disappeared. Evidence gathered by law enforcement, including forensic data and witness statements, suggested that Larry might have been involved in her disappearance. This led to his arrest and charges, which include murder and illegal possession of an assault weapon.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Look at that, Christian. That's a very, very sad story. Very tragic for the family, especially for the 3 kids. And they're
Yeah.
all little kids. So if you are in a situation like that, I mean, not the husband,
Mhm.
but if you are in my situation, I mean, if Maya's still alive, we don't know because we haven't found the body, right?
And her birthday's coming up May 1.
Oo nga, no, malapit na pala. Kaya pala Maya siguro yung name niya because
Mhm.
May ang kanyang birthday. So, what do we know about this case, Christian? So, si Maya and si Larry, they're both Filipino,
Mhm.
okay? And they got married at a very young age. Like Maya was 19 at that time when they got
Wow.
married,
And
right?
they got married here.
Yeah, well, in Hawaii.
in Hawaii.
Mm-mm. And then si Larry was 18 years old at the time. So mas
Wow.
bata ng isang taon si Larry
Mhm.
kay Maya. And then they have 3 children. Ngayon, what happened? So Maya, according to that video, she was she in the military or she just
Employed by
lang,
Department of
employed,
Defense.
yeah. So ano ba ang trabaho niya doon? Administrative specialist siya
Mhm.
at Naval Information Warfare Center sa San Diego, Pacific in San Diego. Now, ang nangyari dito, well, she is really good in her job, right?
Mhm.
Well, mostly naman tayong mga Filipino, di
We
ba?
can't help it.
We wanted to always,
We try our best.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you try your best?
Sometimes.
But because we know our capacity, we want to show to the world that we are, we resist.
We're just as good as everyone else, if not better, right?
Yeah, we always wanted to prove ourselves.
Mhm.
Maybe because we're immigrants here, so we want to make sure that pumapantay tayo kung hindi
Mhm.
nag-i-exceed. Wag
Of
naman
course.
yung less than everyone
Pag
else,
walang
right?
nakakakita, baka pahinga ka muna.
So yun, so Maya excelled in her work and she's actually very committed to her career. Yun ang description sa kanya.
Mhm.
Prior to that, nagtrabaho siya sa Southeast Regional Maintenance Center sa San Diego as supervisor, contract specialist. Yun yung
Wow.
kanyang background. Si Larry naman ay optician. Ano yung optician?
Gumagawa ng glasses.
Yun ba yun?
Diba? Or ano bang optometrist?
Ayun yun.
Optometrist yung doktor.
Yeah.
Ano yung optician?
Dapat ginugal natin. So Larry worked as an optician at Naval Medical Training Center sa San Diego. And according to the investigation, syempre isipin mo bata sila ng pakasal 19, 18.
Mhm.
Alright? So ngayon, they went through like every marriage, diba? There are some challenges. So sa kanila, merong marital issue na nangyayari before this happened, before the disappearance. And the marital issue or problem dates back at least isang taon yata nangyayari yun
Wow.
before siya nawala noong 2021. Actually, there was a report that Larry at some point choked her
Until she passed out. Wow.
So speaking of cruelty, speaking of domestic violence happening, we're not gonna know this unless, may report, my police report, unless my medical record, ganyan, or something happened. And ito, na lumabas ito because nawala si
Mhm.
si Maya.
Mhm.
So because of her disappearance, lumalabas lahat ito through investigation. And of course, sigurado marami pa dyan mga lalabas. So,
And
bakit nga ba nangyari ito? I think because Larry suspects that Maya is having an affair.
yeah. Not that it's a justification for to choke someone, but I guess he was motivated by hearing this news.
Well, may dahilan ng lahat,
Mhm.
right? There's always going to be two sides of the coins, two stories in a situation, right? So, ang sinasabi ni Larry, merong kalab affair si Maya. So, may tamang hinala siya.
Mhm.
So, kaya, so matatawag natin tong selos.
Jealousy.
Ikaw ba, possessive ka?
Hindi naman. Dati
Konti lang.
siguro, oo.
Dati? Ano yung
Dati.
dati? Bakit nagbago ka na?
Huwag niyong
Hindi ka na ba-
Google Basta huwag niyong Google.
Anong nangyari sa'yo? Kasi Google nyo nga. Ako nga i-google ko talaga yan para malaman ko. So, possessive ang si Larry.
Mhm.
So, naghihinala siya. That's why, nag-start siguro yung kanilang pagtatalo. Actually, to the point na, anong ginawa ni Larry?
His Google searches were full of like, hexes on how to make this person fall in love with you again. And so he's
Yung
desperate.
parang kulam.
Yeah, I think so. Or gayuma.
Gayuma.
Yeah.
Sa Philippines, sa gayuma yun. Or kulam. So, gumagamit siya ng mga ganitong pamamaraan.
Or at least he tried to. He was
He tried
searching
to.
for information.
To convince Maya to stay, come back, kung malis na siya, to love him again.
Mhm.
Siguro nararamdaman ni Larry na parang may pagbabago, hindi na ako masyadong mahal ni Maya. So, yung jealousy talaga, yun yung naging culprit kung bakit nagawa ni Larry yun. But of course, this is still under investigation. And marami pa tayong mapag-uusapan, marami pa tayong gustong pag-usapan tungkol sa kaso na to in relation to divorce, in relation to cruelty, in relation to domestic violence, in relation to murder case, because this ended up in a murder case. According to the video, diba, na-charge si Larry ng murder of Maya, his wife, and the mom of his 3 kids. So, this is gonna be an interesting case, Christian. So magbasa ka, mag-research ka bago tayo pumasok sa ating next episode, yun ang assignment ni Christian, because we want to know more about this case. We want to know more how we're gonna learn from this case. And of course, how are we gonna be able to relate it to divorce case, saan man kayo naroon, Texas man, Philippines man, or California or other states. Remember, we're talking about this case because we know that we may be able to learn something from this case. We may be able to prevent something like this from happening again, not necessarily sa'yo, but pwede rin sa mga tao sa paligid mo, friends and families.
And we do have a comment about that. Fast talk. Okay.
Fast talk.
Before
Okay, go ahead.
Talking about Maya's case, why is it challenging to intervene in a domestic dispute between a husband and wife? When should one get involved? And when should one refrain?
Brian Wong. That's from Brian Wong, right? Brian Wong, very interesting. Kailangan alam mo kung anong gagawin mo. First and foremost, kailangan alam mo muna. You should know if something, some kind of violence happening. But it's really hard to determine that because it happens within the wall of that house, of that home. And most of the time, we do not disclose this because it's not something that is common. Usually we do not want to be judged by people. Or sometimes we don't really disclose it to even our closest relatives. We keep it to ourselves if we are involved in a domestic violence because we are hoping that it can be fixed. And once this information got out of the house, you shared it to your friends or families, with your loved ones, they will definitely intervene. And that's when you're not going to be able to fix that anymore. Or it's hard to fix it anymore. So ikaw, if you are hoping that it's going to be fixed because this is your relationship, this is your marriage, you don't want to disclose it to anybody. That's why it's hard to determine if this is happening in a household. But if you have the opportunity to know it, to detect it, talk to that person, or if it's grave, it's life-threatening, report to the police. But again, like I said, it's hard to intervene because it involves domestic violence. It involves family.
And I'm sure there's very discreet ways to let other people know, hey, if you need help, you could just tell us. Be open about it. Maybe maybe they just think they don't have anyone who will listen to them. So definitely be discreet about it first. Another comment. Again, fast talk. In situations where temporary restraining order or court order is in place, if the non-custodial parent, NCP, does not appear for their scheduled time, does the NCP lose their right to visitation for just that day or for the entire weekend? Is it possible for the NCP to exercise their visitation rights on the following day?
Basahin mo naman ng ano.
Okay,
that's from whom?
Attorney Orlando Dizon.
Okay, so if I understand that right, kasi ang bilis-bilis mo. So mayroong temporary restraining order? Temporary restraining order lang ba o may temporary orders then for child support? Okay, so if there is a hearing like that and you are the petitioner, if you filed for divorce, you are the petitioner, it's important that you attend all your hearing, otherwise it may be dismissed. Now, if you are the respondent, which means ikaw yung sinusu, ikaw yung other spouse, if you do not attend the hearing, you may lose the opportunity to enforce your right, or to at least fight for your right, especially if there are children involved, because the court may issue a decision that is not favorable to you because you were not there. So you're going to lose that opportunity to probably get custody of your children, or to advocate for yourself, to ask for visitations of your children. And the court may just apply. We have here in Texas a so-called standard possession order. So the court may just apply that standard possession. We can talk more about that when we talk about conservatorship or child custody. But since we are running out of time, actually we're out of time.
Good episode
Yes,
today.
we're going to continue this discussion next episode, most likely going to be last Wednesday of the month, but Christian and I are talking, we may increase our we may increase our what is that
Our
episodes
frequency.
So instead of just last Wednesday of the month, watch out, follow Lawin Media Network, Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube channel so you will be updated of the latest shows and changes or announcement that we're gonna make, especially in legal treats. If you want to know more about, you want to see more about us, tune in, follow, subscribe, and like.
Stop, listen, learn.
Again, thank you, Lawin Media Network. Thank you to all our viewers who stayed with us. Thank you for those who asked questions.
Yes.
We hope that we're able to address all your questions. And if you want to know more, tune in. Watch out for our next episode because we're going to continue talking about this. And also, we're going to continue following the case of Maya Millet.
Wow. All right. Thank you so much, Torny Aileen. Thank you for the viewers. Well, tentatively next month's last Wednesday is on the 29th.
Yeah.
So,
but if we're gonna have our episode earlier than that, you will see an announcement on the Facebook page of Lawin Media Network and my Facebook also, and probably Christian's Facebook. I don't know about your Facebook.
I'm hiding from some people, so maybe no.
All right. So thank you so much again. Magandang gabi, Texas, Houston. Good morning, Philippines. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.